As someone from Europe, how is Trump doing so well? How many Americans have you met and talked to? Most likely you see posts on Reddit, Twitter, etc. These skew your perception. Old people vote more than anyone else and tend to lean right. The posts you are seeing are not representative of the US population as a whole. You're seeing posts from demographics that overwhelmingly despise Trump. Your first mistake is assuming Reddit reflects the real world. Do you know anyone in Hungary? Trump's popularity has similar causes as Orban's popularity. I don't know. Why don't you ask Boris Johnson, Silvio Berlusconi, or Marine Le Pen? The idea that right-wing demagoguery is not understandable to Europeans is just silly. You see a lot of negative posts because you're currently on a majority left platform. A large portion of the GOP voter base still loves the guy. Any GOP politician who is critical of him in any way pays a heavy political price for it. As for how this is, the answer is high charisma on Trump's part. His ability to dog whistle the more viler portions of the nation and admittedly smart political tactics from him and his campaign. Outright condemning a federal abortion ban. Something no other GOP candidate is willing to do when the issue is political poison. A lot of people who will vote for Trump because of his policies. In spite of his busted character and many personal flaws, keep their mouths shut because of the backlash they'd receive for voting for him. I really doubt that European media has many stations in Texas, Florida, Ohio, or many other red states. Probably NYC, Chicago, maybe SF? Once you get out of the cities and suburbs, it's just straight Trump country. I live in a northeast state, and even here it feels like driving into the deep south when you get out there. MAGA hats, billboards, talk radio, megachurches, etc. I'm not exaggerating when I say that about 1/3 of Americans have bought into his cult. And he is basically a messianic figure to them. After that, all it takes is 1/6 of Americans to be annoyed enough about inflation, abortion, immigration, or militarism. Don't ask. I truly have no idea how people convince themselves that the GOP are the peace party. And with that he's at 50%. He was a well-known celebrity with a recognizable catchphrase. He is funny and says what he thinks in simple language. He presents himself as proudly rich because he is good at business, which many folks find to be relatable and aspirational. We only have two parties and the Democrats aren't helping themselves. No, you're not missing anything. There's just a lot of people over here who have less than zero trust in the media and government, and assume most things the media says are lies or misrepresentation to suit some political agenda. Trump echoes these sentiments, and some people view it as a witch hunt. Reddit users are drastically more left-wing than the overallest population. Reddit is a liberal echo chamber that doesn't reflect the general population. I'm not saying I personally agree or disagree with this BTW. Simply stating this will probably get downvoted to invisibility though. Watch. What I would really like to understand is how the two major parties are always so close in every election. Do 98% of people always vote the same party no matter what? It's baffling. The rural folk hated him when he was a loudmouth New Yorker in the 1980s and 90s. Now it turns out they hate him way less than they hate universal health care. My Republican coworkers cannot think critically and think he is God on earth. Trump is a symptom of a much deeper, much more pervasive problem this country has had since basically its founding. But no, You aren't missing anything. There's a large portion of Americans that genuinely see this dude as some kind of messiah. It's pretty insane. So Americans mostly vote based off of who they don't want to win. So if you have a problem with how the Democrats do things, you're kind of forced to vote for the Republican candidate. So if, for example, you don't like how the Democrats are handling all of the identity politics, you kind of can only vote Republican if you want it to stop. If you don't like how the Democrats are handling the economy, you can only vote for Republicans to get a change. If you don't like how the Democrats are handling immigration policy, then you can only vote Republicans for a change. See the pattern here? Most people who are going to vote for Trump don't want to vote for Trump specifically, they want to vote against everyone else. Granted, Trump has his loyalists. How did he get most of them? He basically painted himself as not part of the corrupt machine. Trump is heavily lifted by vested financial interests and a large set of media sources that have spent nearly a decade propping him up and presenting an unrealistic image of him. Equally, vast quantities of his wrongdoing have been actively ignored and belittled. It is an unnatural environment in which zero other candidates or personalities in the history of politics and political media have had. All of it feels like a decade-long marketing blitz that just never ended. Unfortunately, many millions of the general public are consumers of these media sources and have spent a decade being told lies. For the general public, it's been a decade of propaganda that erodes societies, and it's almost impossible to fix. I would have rather seen a nuke go off in the middle of New York City, because the nuke would have caused less damage than a decade of propaganda. A decade later, we're stuck with the result of all of this. Equally, media companies are also stuck with the narrative and see massive hate if they deviate. Now they risk instantly losing their entire customer base if they try to return to normal. So, they don't. They just continue down the same propaganda path without any safe exit. Even Trump's court issues have proven not enough of a jumping-off point. They will lose probably 80% to 90% of their customer base for a while, if they deviate at all. Outside of Trump publicly shooting babies in the face live on TV, I really don't know what level of evil Trump needs to actually do to break ties with people who have absorbed the decade of media poison. Even that might not be enough for some. He's very charismatic and very well known. The part of the population that favors him is borderline worshipful. The part of the population that wants him gone will still quote his speech word for word and cannot stop talking about him. He will never be forgotten. At this point, whichever side of the fence you fall on, you have to agree his momentum is astounding. At some point he's going to die. The dude's almost 80. And a large portion of the public will still parade his name around one way or another. It's a very interesting time.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.